A major retailer is selling these notebooks and folders and composition books with clearly Christian themes. Do you think kids will get in trouble if they take them to school? This is the CitizenLink Report. I'm Stuart Shepard along with Tom Minery, who's Executive Director of CitizenLink. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Stuart.
We also have joining us via Skype, via webcam from Atlanta, David Cortman. He's Senior Counsel with the Alliance Defense Fund at its Atlanta Regional Center. He also specializes in helping students understand and take care of their First Amendment rights. Hi, David.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. We're looking forward to getting your insights on this. To set this up, I was at Walmart this weekend, and we're looking at school supplies in the little school supply section. It's the usual pictures of puppies and daisies and dinosaurs and all that. And then I saw this, a series of notebooks and composition books with messages that are quite Christian. One has a cross and quotes John 3:16 and says, "This message is illegal in 53 countries." Another says, "God recycles. He made you out of dust." Well, my first thought was, you go, Walmart, for that. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just selling what customers want out of their store. But the very next thought, David, was how many days until we'll be reporting a story about some student who was told you can't bring that to school? So the question for you is, can you take that to school?
They absolutely can. And what's interesting, not only will that likely happen, it's actually happened in the past. We had a student who had the nerve to draw a picture in his art class and included a small cross on it with the words John 3:16 and was given a 0 for the assignment.
Wow. Describe for us the current state of students' rights. Legally, where are we? What can they do? Where are the boundaries?
The First Amendment protects religious students the same way as they do secular ones. Religious speech is protected. They have a broad variety of rights when they go to public schools. As you mentioned, you could put book covers on their books that have John 3:16 or Jesus on them. They can hand out religious flyers. They can start Bible clubs or pro-life clubs. So they have a wide variety of rights to express their faith in the public schools.
One of the questions that always comes up, what about prayer? Where is it okay? Where is it not?
It's easy. It's to start where it's not, and that's probably in the middle of math class. But other than that, if you have non-instructional time, you're hanging out with your friends, you're in the cafeteria before lunch, you're sitting on the playground at recess, you absolutely have the right to pray either with yourself or with a group of friends.
David, what should a parent do if a student brings one of these composition books with a Christian message into class and is told he has to take it home or take it out? What's the first response of a parent?
Well, I think the first response, obviously, is obeying whoever the teacher or the authority is. But I think importantly, too, is to find out exactly what your rights are. The way to handle the situation is to talk to the teacher or the principal, what policy they're relying upon. Interestingly enough, either there is not a policy, it's just this knee-jerk reaction that anything religious is somehow illegal, which is absolutely wrong, or it's based on an unconstitutional policy. We've had cases where the policy itself says no promoting of religion by students in the school. That's clearly an unconstitutional policy right on its face.
So the first step is just to do the obvious and talk to the teacher or the principal. If that doesn't work, then what do you do?
Well, then the best response is to call a group like the Alliance Defense Fund, Focus on the Family, find out what's the best way to proceed. We will actually work for free. We work pro bono. We help people get down to the root of the problem, find out if it's just a misunderstanding, if there's an erroneous view of the law. We'll write a letter on behalf of the family and, if necessarily, to go to litigation. But there are certainly some steps that should be taken. And I think what's important, though, is people should be bold enough to share their faith, whether they're in school or outside of it.
Now, what you just said terrifies a lot of parents, just to be honest, the idea of going to a lawsuit, challenging the school district and all that. The first inclination of most folks is to just let it go. We'll move along, nothing to see here. What's wrong with that response of doing nothing?
Well, the first thing I would say is, in my opinion, it's not a biblical response. If you go back and look at Paul and all that he went through, he exercised his legal rights to appeal through the system many times. But I think more importantly than that, if we are to abide by the Great Commission, and that is go share your faith, then I think we have to have our responsibility exercised and say, we think it's our obligation. Certainly schools are indoctrinating our kids and they're, quote unquote, proselytizing their views of things. But I think it's important that Christians have a bold stance and be able to share their faith with others. If we truly believe that Jesus is the only way and we love other people, then I think we not only have a right to, but we have an obligation to tell them about our faith.
And David, I know that the Alliance Defense Fund has issue briefs, legal papers that we might refer people to who are watching this video link, and so we will link to whatever you have that will be helpful for parents if their children buy these books and they have a problem at school.
Absolutely. And we have resources not only on our website at alliancedefensefund.org. They can call us up and simply talk to an attorney like myself just to get advice. We'll walk them through the process. And what's interesting about it is that it's not as scary as it seems at first, although I know if you hear about legal letters and lawsuits, but it's really not that bad of a process. And the reason is it's all based on principle. In other words, does the Constitution allow a school to censor religious speech? And the short answer is no, it doesn't. And so it's merely standing up for not only our God-given rights, but also what the Constitution protects.
And it's also true that many times situations like this can be resolved simply by a simple presentation of a lawyer's understanding of the problem. Probably the counsel for the school board will take a look at that and many times backs right off.
Well, that's right. And it doesn't start litigation. It could start with a phone call. It could start with a letter from us that the parent could bring in themselves and sit down with the school principal. And as you stated, there are conversations with the local school board attorney. There's plenty of law that supports the rights of students to share their faith. There's Supreme Court cases that go back decades, basically saying that students do not shed their constitutional rights at the schoolhouse gate. So there's many different options to work through the process. And many times it simply takes a phone call or a letter.
I just want to give you a moment to speak directly to parents and offer your encouragement to them as far as standing up for students' rights, but also doing it in a Christ-like fashion. Even though you're bringing a challenge, you're doing it with grace and with generosity.
That's exactly right. And the basic encouragement is what I would say to my own kids. What we don't want to happen is for our child to go to school, and we're trying to bring them up in the faith as best that we can, and they go to school and all of a sudden they hear from their teacher or principal that somehow their faith is illegal. And I don't know how you are, but with my kids, whatever the teacher said is gospel with a small g. And so we want to make sure that our kids understand that there's nothing wrong with sharing your faith. It is not only legal to believe in Jesus, obviously, but it's okay to talk to your friends about it. And so it's really the shaping of our kids. If we stay silent, then they're brought up with this false thought that there's something wrong with my faith, even if I don't share it. And so I would encourage parents to take a stand. And what's incredible to me and really touches my heart is how bold kids are these days. I mean, when I was younger, I was always afraid to share my faith. And we have students from kindergarten up deciding to share their faith and just be bold. And I think we as parents need to stand with them to be able to do so.
All right. Well, David Cortman down there in Atlanta, we appreciate the work you do, and hopefully some of the folks who are listening now, if they run into this, will be giving you a call along the way. Maybe we could connect you with them. We appreciate you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. And Tom, we should mention you were on the board of the Alliance Defense Fund. We should mention that along the way. It's a good organization.
It is, and it started way back in 1994, growing in influence as the network of trained lawyers expands around the country. And many times, letters written by the Alliance Defense Fund attorneys can solve problems like these before they get to the lawsuit stage.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you will be able to stand up for your rights. First thing to do that is to know what they are, and that's why this is helpful to hear from David and the cases he's dealt with around the country. But then the second is to stand up for those rights and be willing to speak up with grace and with the right frame of reference, if you will, knowing where the law is and what is reasonable to ask for. Tom, thank you, and thanks to all of you who have written to share your thoughts and encouragement and criticisms with us. You may always write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. Remember to pray for all the teachers and school officials as they're also getting back to work this year. Pray for their clarity of mind and for them to understand where the boundaries are so that our young people will be willing to express their faith in a reasonable way in the classroom and in the school environment. And remember, stand tall and be heard.